I'm here.
Is she frozen again? Chairman, I think you're frozen. Let's just give her a second or two.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Were you waiting for me?
Yes, she was waiting for you. I'm just kidding. She's frozen. She'll be back in a second, everyone.
Thanks.
Everyone can just be patient. She'll log in back again. Thank you so much.
Hi, bear with us just a second. OAS is helping her remotely. So hopefully that will things. Okay.
You're muted, delegate.
And what I was saying was so important. Thank you all for your patience. This is one of those technical difficulties that we often speak about at the beginning of these virtual meetings. And I appreciate your patience and endurance as we move forward with some of the last bills of the 2022 session. Welcome to the Insurance and Pharmaceuticals Subcommittee of the Health and Government Operations Committee. And we have a few bills in front of us today. I do want to let folks know that Senate Bill 355, HIV prevention drugs, prescribing and dispensing by pharmacists and insurance requirements. Senator Lamb has asked me to hold that bill. He feels it needs a little more work, so we have agreed to hold that bill for now. And so we will not be discussing that bill today. So if you were here just for that, you get to buy some time. We have 3 bills from the Maryland Insurance Administration. We're going to start with those bills, and we're going to finish with House Bill 709, which is a cross-file of Senate Bill 632. So let's start first with Senate Bill 180. insurance, conformity with federal law, the No Surprises Act, and other provisions of the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2021. Lisa, you want to tell us what it does briefly?
Sure. Senate Bill 180 is an emergency departmental bill that authorizes the Maryland Insurance Administration to enforce provisions of the No Surprises Act and other provisions of the Federal Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021.
And we do this bill every year just to allow our MIA to enforce the federal laws. So is there anyone from MIA who needs to add to that description? Please raise your virtual hand. David, do you want to say anything? David
I mean, if there's questions, pardon me, I'm happy to, but I mean, as you said, this is just part of what we've done in prior years of the ACA. This is just a new federal law, the No Surprises Act. So it just is needed to give us the enforcement authority to directly enforce it here in Maryland.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion on the bill? Is there a motion on the bill?
Oh, move the bill.
Sorry.
I think there's a motion and a second somewhere in there. Those in favor, or is there any discussion? Okay, those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please raise your virtual hands. Okay, seeing none, the bill passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we'll go to Senate Bill 185, Maryland Insurance Administration Virtual Hearings. This is a departmental bill as well. Lisa, what's it do?
This bill authorizes the insurance commissioner to direct that a Maryland Insurance Administration hearing be held virtually. A hearing must be considered open to the public if a member of the public can observe the hearing virtually through an electronic media platform. The commissioner may not require a party to participate virtually in a hearing if the party demonstrates that it is unable to exercise specific rights related to the hearing by appearing virtually. The commissioner must also make available to the parties to a virtual hearing a space within MIA with access to equipment necessary to allow the parties to participate in the virtual hearing. There are no amendments.
Okay, are there any questions on this bill? Everyone understand what it's doing? I see no questions.
Move the bill.
Thank you. I got a motion on the bill. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a second. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Those in favor of the bill, please say aye. Those opposed, please raise your virtual hands. Seeing none, bill passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we move to Senate Bill 207, Insurance Carriers and Managed Care Organizations, Cybersecurity Standards, another departmental bill. Lisa, what's it do?
This bill adopts the National Association of Insurance Commissioners Model 668 Data Security Model Law, which establishes data security standards for insurance regulators, insurers, and other specified carriers. The purpose of the bill is to establish standards applicable to carriers for data security, prompt investigation, and notification to the insurance commissioner of a cybersecurity event. There were no amendments.
Okay, thank you. David or Van, do you, either one of you want to speak to this bill and what, what specifically it does other than just conform to the NAIC?
Sure, Van Dorsey, I can do that. This bill provides data security and incident response requirements for segments of the insurance industry, including insurers. And as Lisa mentioned, it follows the model. 18 other jurisdictions have already passed this. We worked with industry on this, and the amendments reflect both the industry and amendments by the Office of the Attorney General. This version passed the Senate unanimously.
Okay, I'm going to call on Matt Celentano.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Commissioner Berrien and the MIA team for working with the stakeholders. I was sort of voluntold to coordinate the entire insurance industry stakeholder group. And as much as it was herding cats, we got to a final product where we were all on board. So thank you very much, the MIA.
Thank you. Thank you for working with the MIA to get here. Questions on the bill? Okay, seeing no questions, I do want to say I appreciate the work on this bill. I appreciate this bill, especially vis-a-vis, hopefully, if we get the capacity to do the advanced care directives electronically. So having those cybersecurity protections, I believe, are going to be an important part of that implementation as well. So I was excited to see this bill. If there's no further discussion, do I have a motion on the bill?
Move the bill.
Thank you. We've got it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Do we, Lisa, are there amendments? Do we need to pass amendments? Okay, great, thanks. Then those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please raise your virtual hands. Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So we'll move now. We're going to start with Senate Bill 632 because it has been worked on to bring it over here to the House. So Senate Bill 632 is Maryland Health Benefit Exchange, Small Business and Nonprofit Health Insurance Subsidies Program Work Group. I will, Lisa, you want to tell us a little about the bill?
As amended in the Senate struck the requirements to establish the small business subsidy program and instead require the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange to convene a work group to study and make recommendations relating to the establishment of small business and nonprofit health insurance subsidies program to provide subsidies for the purchase of benefit plans. The exchange is required to invite specified stakeholders to participate in the work group, and the work group is required to study and make recommendations on the health insurance coverage needs of small employers, nonprofit employers, and their employees, objectives and target metrics for the program, the optimal scope and design features of the program, and the cost to administer the program. And also the sources and levels of funding needed to support the program. The report is due back by October 1st, 2022. The exchange must submit a report on its findings and recommendations to the governor and the General Assembly. And the bill also expresses the intent of the General Assembly that beginning in fiscal 2024, the governor include in the annual budget bill an appropriation to establish and operate a program with a design as recommended by the work group. And there are no amendments on the Senate bill.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. So I don't know if Senator Fry-Hester is here or someone from her office. If not, I'm going to ask Delegate Lewis. Delegate Lewis, can you speak to us about this bill and about your intentions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Delegate Robin Lewis here. Thank you so much for letting me come and speak a little bit about SB 632. And so this is a bill that's much needed. Everyone on this subcommittee knows that we've done so much to expand access to healthcare coverage. Just this year, we've already passed a bill to expand access to dental care for adults under Medicaid. We extended the coverage for pregnant and postnatal women under Medicaid. But last year, we made it possible for the Young Adult Pilot Project to provide subsidies for young adults to enroll in qualified plans under the health exchange. But what we haven't done yet, there's a great unaddressed need for small businesses to get help covering their employees with affordable and quality health insurance. Although the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act set up some mechanisms to support small businesses under what was called the SHOP program, As all of you know well, we've really struggled, even in Maryland, where we're so good at this, we've struggled to really provide easily accessible, meaningfully subsidizing supports for small businesses. So this bill allows us to do that. It allows us to meet the great unmet need for small businesses to help their employees access quality, affordable health care in a way that's sustainable, in a way that they will really feel the benefit of. We originally introduced this bill, Senator Hester and I, with the help of so many great advocates, in order to stand up a small business subsidy program. That it's harder than we hoped. And so the bill that you have before you, amended in the Senate, SB 632, sets up a work group that will give the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange the ability to design and propose a meaningfully useful and helpful small business health subsidy program. So that's what this bill does. I think everyone on this committee understands how important the need is. And I also think it's well past time for us to help small businesses. I'll mention as well that the bill helps small businesses as well as small nonprofit employers provide meaningful health care subsidies. And remember, last but not least, that in the state of Maryland, most businesses are small businesses, and moreover, the majority of Maryland small businesses are led by women and people of color. So what we'll be doing here, not just helping the small business, but helping people who really need the coverage. I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate, for your presentation. So I know this is an incredibly important bill, and there are a number of advocates here. So I'd like to give you all the opportunity to speak. Anyone who wants to speak, to any of the advocates who want to speak to this bill, I'd ask you that you be somewhat concise. And then after everyone's had a chance to speak, then I will ask for questions from the committee, and then we'll proceed from there. So are there any of the advocates who are on the call who would like to speak? And I would have been shocked had Mr. DeMarco not raised his hand. So thank you, Vinny, for not disappointing me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we really thank Delegate Lewis, Senator Hester, and all the leads, all the sponsors of the bill for bringing this forward. We were under Delegate Lewis's lead, hoping that money would be put into the bill this year, but we understand it's a process. And one of our favorite things in this amended bill is the uncodified language that Lisa mentioned, putting the intent of the legislature that big money in the 2024 budget for this. So we think that's very important, and we pledge to work with the exchange and all the other stakeholders to make sure the work group does a good product and you enact something you can be very proud of next year to help small businesses. Thank you, you and your subcommittee very, very, very much.
And thank you, Vinny, for your work on this. We know you've been, really working hard. Are there any other advocates who'd like to speak to the bill? I see Mr. Weldon raising his real hand. So there you go.
Thank you very much, Delegate Cullison. On behalf of the Maryland Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, I want to indicate to the committee that we strongly support the creation of this work group to recommend the framework for the Small Business Health Insurance Subsidy Program. We were most excited by the prospect of working in partnership with the Health Benefit Exchange and the carriers to create an incentive for our smallest member companies and nonprofits to provide health insurance to their employees. Thousands of our smallest employers could benefit. And we pledge the support of our Maryland local and county chambers to help the work group succeed. And Madam Chair, if I could just a moment of personal privilege, say hello to my dear friends, Vice Chair Pena Melnick, Delegate Carr, Delegate Kipke, Delegate Krebs, and the incredibly talented Council Lisa Simpson. My past history includes relationships with all of you, and it's those are memories I treasure, and thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today and for your support of the bill. Amber Hyde.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, this is my first time speaking. So if I say something a little off or not sure exactly what to say, please excuse me.
You're fine.
You're fine.
Thank you. So I've been a broker for 22 years, an insurance broker. I work with small groups, large groups, and individuals. I do a lot of projects for the Maryland Health Connection. And they actually made this connection for me with Vinnie DeMarco to introduce this bill. I strongly support it. I was involved in the previous bill, the Maryland Partnership Program, and personally myself wrote over 400 companies, small groups, which is, if anyone is in the brokerage community, you know that that is a lot to write in 2 years. That this new bill mirrors that bill, and I just, can't say enough. If anyone would want information, what it looks like from boots on the ground, from insurance brokers who work directly with the small group market, I'm certainly available. I will volunteer my time, absolutely. The difference between this, and I haven't heard it in a lot of the meetings, is the funds from the Maryland Partnership Program went directly to the carrier, which helped not only the employers, but the employees as well. So the carriers were only billing the employers the amount less the subsidy. What's in place now, the Maryland Health Commission and the SHOP program, they have wonderful people who really stand behind it. However, it just doesn't, it's not attractive to employers because it's a tax credit that they have to file at the end of the year. There's no specific amount given. So us as brokers have to advise the employers when they come on board, you may qualify at the end of the year, you may not. So it's not a set in stone amount. It does not help the employers throughout the year. So I just really wanted to kind of bring that to light, that the Maryland Partnership Program and what's being proposed would help employers throughout the year. It's very marketable. It's very attractive. It helps the employers and the employees.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here, for speaking to us today. Mr. Ernie Davis.
Hi, Madam Chair. Thank you for having me on today. And on behalf of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, I'm Director of Government Affairs for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region. And I just want to voice LLS's support both for 632 and 709. Any program in the state of Maryland that has the ability to possibly provide in the future high quality access to health care for our blood cancer patients is always welcome. And on behalf of LLS, we certainly will commit to work on this program and certainly try to achieve that ultimate goal as it's set out in the bill.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Willie Flowers.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and I want to acknowledge quickly Delegate Lewis's work on this, and as well as our leader, Vinnie DeMarco, on all things healthcare related. I just want to say that as a organizer, as a person who was in college when the Affordable Care Act became the thing in the '92 campaign, and it never really happened. And one of the criticism was business people and small organizations, they thought they would be shut out of business if they offered healthcare. This is the solution to that. And as currently, that was almost 40 years ago, I'll say, but currently as an executive director of an organization who had the original Affordable Care Act grant, and I had to literally lay people off because we couldn't afford to keep them. So it hits home for me. I want to do what I can on behalf of the Maryland State Conference NAACP to put this forward. So we're all ready. So please consider the value of this to people who cannot be here, and hopefully we can represent their voice. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. We're going to hear from Ms. Sandra Connor, and then we're going to open it to questions from the committee. Ms. Connor. Oh, you're on mute.
I apologize, first of all, for the picture that you have that you're looking at. I meant to change it, but I'm calling on behalf of the Baptist Ministers Night Conference and faith leaders. We are grateful for the fact that this particular bill will enable us as the faith organizations to offer our employees as well some kind of benefit to get greater health care than what they have now. So I appreciate the work that Mr. Vinnie DeMarco and all who've been involved in this to make this a possibility. Looking forward for a very positive outcome.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Okay, let's open it up to questions from the committee. We're going to start with Delegate Kelly.
Oh, thank you. I'm Delegate Morgan might have been first and then he went down. He's got such good manners, so he's fine. Okay. My question was for Amber Hyde. I loved having your testimony here. I thought it was really helpful. And I'm just hoping that you can expand a little bit. Something that you said was that, so I have a small business and I've been in, in a small group market a couple of different times, and it's hard. Can you explain to me how the program envisioned here, and hopefully with some money coming in next year, as Vinny mentioned, how that would be more marketable and more attractive to the small businesses? Just expand on that a little bit, because I loved what you were saying about how the tax credit at the year end is just not as appealing as, say, something that's more guaranteed.
Absolutely. Thank you. So currently through the SHOP program, if you'd like to participate, you go online, you can be referred to a broker. You have to put in your demographics, including the income, and it gives you an estimated tax credit that you can claim at the end of the year. That amount is not a guaranteed amount, and you have to work with an accountant on the back end with filing for the claim. The proposed bill again mirrors what was in place, and it was working very successfully with the Maryland Partnership Program. So at the beginning stages, we would work with the employers. We would again enter their demographics. We would see what they qualify for on the front side. So the employer could qualify for up to 50% of the individual or family rate throughout the year. And that would, and it was funded directly to the carriers for that guaranteed amount. So there wasn't a chance for, at the end of the year, to come back and not qualify for it, what have you. It was paid directly to the carrier. The employer then could decide, we would like to contribute in addition to that 50%. We can contribute 25, and then the employee is then only responsible for 25%. They could split that however they like. At the beginning, we would, file the paperwork for that as well, notate how they'd like to contribute. And then it allowed for growth as well, which was an amazing. So this was kind of an amazing benefit. It was geared towards employers between 2 and 9 employees. However, at renewal, it would expand to 25. So that, of course, allows for growth. And I personally, I work with my employers with job fairs, recruiters, and that's something that they can advertise and feel secure that they're still going to get that benefit beyond the 9 employee mark.
Okay, so it gives a lot more predictability and flexibility for the employers under this model. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Morgan?
I think that answered a lot of my questions. That was a good question by Delegate Kelly here, because we've seen bills like this, I think, before, where if you're taking from one group, you hurt another group. And to me, I guess, this is a work group bill, and I'll probably end up voting for it because of that. But it'll be interesting, because ultimately, I think what you're going to find is some of these small employers, this is going to draw small employers out of the group market. Ms. Hyde shaking her head no. She seems to be knowing a little bit more about this than the rest of us. What would your opinion be on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Hyde.
So there's no downside to this at all. If an small employer wants to add an employee health benefit package, I can probably think of 15 employers right now in the pipeline who would like to do that. But the financial side, we're looking at a family plan from anywhere from $1,500 to $2,200 per month. A small employer does not have that budgeted, and it really would take 2 or 3 years to budget that amount of money. With this contribution, would certainly, all that would do is just basically cut that amount in half. They would be able to offer it sooner. There's nothing about this plan that would take any small group plan out of the market. As a matter of fact, when this was in place prior to the ACA, prior to SHOP, we had hundreds of small employers that had these group plans that then dismembered and went into the individual exchange for their health benefits for the employees, which really hurt kind of everyone, because at the time the employer could not contribute. If their employee left and went into the individual exchange, the employer could not contribute those funds to the individual plan. So that actually dismembered. Now, now there is some provision for that. However, it would not deter any employer to go out of, it would not press any employer out of the market. I'm not sure. Do you have a specific question?
Well, no, I mean, that was just a theory that I had. I'm looking forward to the results. I appreciate the information you just gave, because I do remember when the ACA came online and we did do that. I also remember the individual rates in the individual market on the exchange being held down artificially low, that a lot of small business employers said, you know what, it's not worth us trying to run a healthcare plan. We can just maybe subsidize or pay our employees more and send them over to the exchange. And that was really before, when this exchange was heavily subsidized early or artificially held low, when Care First was losing hundreds of millions of dollars in that market.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to react with, the underwriting, where we're at right now, I guess, with what do we call it? Reinsurance. Yeah. So, but yeah, I look forward to the work group. I'm interested in seeing what it comes back. Thank you.
And if I can add, you're absolutely correct. A lot of employers did disband their employee health programs, but it was because if they had some sort of subsidy like this, or the individual market was very attractive because there were heavy subsidies with this program, you'll have that type subsidy paid directly to the carrier.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for answering the question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the question, Delegate. And I think part of what the work group I expect would be doing is looking at all the different options. And we've come a long way since the exchange has been implemented, and understand the relationships between the different markets much better now. So I think we're able to hopefully predict some of that better than we were in the past. So, but thank you very much for raising it here. I'm going to go to Delegate Krebs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think it's a great idea to have this as a work group, but I had a couple of questions. I know on page 2, it talked about some of the things the study shall make findings and recommendations regarding. And I had a couple observations that I think should be added to that, whether it's in the bill or not, just intention language. Number one, it was just alluded to about the assessments. Right now, we're assessing this small group market. So their rates are going up because we put this reinsurance assessment on it. So it'd be nice to look at it and what have we done to the small group market to make it more expensive? And so looking at the reinsurance assessment, because we're on one hand assessing, we're charging a tax on it, and then on the other hand, we're going to give them a rebate back. So it sort of seems like we should try to figure out what we're doing. And then the second piece that was alluded to.
Louisa.
Matt, you're on mute. Go on mute. Yeah. So anyway, and the second part is the impact on, I think it was alluded to, the impact on the existing small group Maryland market, because that's really an important thing. We have a small group market. Not everybody can tap into it, but we want to make sure that we don't have unintended consequences of what we come up with. So I know on that line, it says whether these same subsidies would be allowed for the small employers outside the exchange. But again, just the impact on the existing small group market, because that's important, and the impact of the reinsurance. But I don't know if that should be in this language or not. But at the very end, the intent language, and maybe somebody could answer this question, the bill sponsor, the very last paragraph on page 3 that's in the new bill, the intent of the General Assembly that beginning of fiscal year 24 and each fiscal year after, the governor shall include in the annual budget an appropriation of funding to establish and operate a small business and nonprofit health insurance subsidy program with a design as recommended by the work group under section 1. So the question is this going to come back to us and we're going to approve this? Or this intent language makes it sound like, hey, we're going to take the recommendation of the work group and the governor shall and put it in the budget. So what's the intention of that language?
Delegate Lewis, did you want to speak to that?
I'll try.
Okay.
I always appreciate Delegate Krebs' analytical thinking and asking questions that aren't necessarily obvious to everyone. However, in this case, the good delegate has raised a question that I think answers itself. This is non-codified language. It simply expresses the will of the General Assembly to fund whatever recommendations come out. Whether that looks like budget language next year, whether it's a bill, I can't predict that, but I think the expression of intent is all that's necessary in a bill like this, a study bill. I don't believe that prescribing a mechanism for funding is prudent or useful. So I hope that answers the question. And if there's anyone who could answer better, by all means, jump in.
No, I'm anxious for this report to come back, but I do think we should, obviously in the context of the budget and look at what the report is, that we're the policymakers and we appreciate the work group and their work, but it could be $500 million. I mean, we've got to have some ownership in this. So hopefully that intent language and maybe staff can help us. The intent is it would come back to the legislature. We consider it with all the other appropriations things and then look at what we're going to pass next year.
There will have to be some sort of bill, some sort of statutory.
Right. And then there's other issues, maybe the impact on existing small group and also about the reinsurance, I just hope that's in the conversation and whether or not that needs to be in the bill or not. I'm just putting on the record that I think it should be part of the conversation of the work group.
Thank you, Delegate. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Saab.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Delegate Krebs pretty much covered everything that I was going to ask, but I do want to clarify a couple of things. Now, when you say small business, so I actually have two questions. I want to go back to that section 2 that Delegate Krebs just talked about, because I think it's important. It seems to me that we're writing a blank check because it does say shall, not may. So I have concerns about that. But also, what is the definition of small business? Is it 500 or less, or is it 50 or less?
I'm going to go to Vinny. Do you have that number?
Well, I can tell you that in the federal law, the federal shop law, it's 25. And the partnership law to which Amber referred was 10 or less. And we would certainly be okay with either of those numbers. The 10 or less from the partnership really reached the businesses that had the most need. So in the way the bill was originally introduced by Delegate Lewis, it had 25, used the federal number. We are at some point looking to change that to 10. So it'll in the end, I think it'll be one of those two numbers.
I appreciate that. I just want to make sure it wasn't 500.
No,
So
25 or 10.
Okay, so on the second question, section 2, maybe council can look at again, and I just want to make sure we're not writing a blank check
How is this writing a blank check, Delegate Saab?
because it says the intent of the.
Oh, sorry, I meant to be on mute, but I do have that question for you. I mean, this is not budget language.
Yes, it
This
is.
is a 2022 bill that creates a work group. It does
Right.
not create a requirement or a mandate. I mean, we don't even know who the governor is going to be next year. We can't tell the next administration. I'm sorry. I'm
Chairman, I think I
leaving
have
the council to answer.
Let me just respond to that. So no, it does say the intent of the General Assembly beginning fiscal year 2024 and each year thereafter, the governor shall include in the annual budget an appropriation. So it is a budget language. So I don't know how you see it. Now, if you intend not to do it that way, I think it needs to be clarified. That's the point that I'm trying to make. But the way I look at it now, that it's basically requiring the governor, whoever the governor is, to put the subsidy in his budget or her budget in 2024.
Delegate Saab, I'm pretty sure it will still be in the discretion of the governor whether he puts language in the budget next year, or else in whatever bill comes back, there'll be a mandated appropriation. This alone isn't.
So the shall doesn't have to be may?
You could change that, but just because it says that, it's the intent of the General Assembly.
Right.
So they're saying they want the governor to do that, but I don't.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Specifically saying that the governor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I think that's very helpful, but I would also remind the committee, think of the sequence of events here. The report is October 1st, and to come back to the legislature in 2023. And I would expect that and because uncodified language doesn't continue forward beyond its timeline, then it's the bill that we do in 2023 that will either create a mandated appropriation or not. So this does not create a mandated appropriation. Does that make sense?
Want to make sure. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
No,
thank you.
I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments, thoughts by the committee?
I think Bryson has his hand up.
Bryson. Okay. Go ahead, Bryson. Bryson Popham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the subcommittee. Bryson Popham. I submitted a letter to the full committee on the bill on behalf of my client, the Maryland Association of Health Underwriters. That letter called for a study, which is the ultimate outcome of the bill. I was not able to testify before the full committee, but I do think I have some information that may be helpful to you in your deliberations. This is not a matter of policy. It's not a matter of politics. It's not a matter of the budget. It's really a matter of mechanics. And that came out in the discussion in the Senate Finance Committee for this reason. The Maryland small group market, which is, by the way, the size of the market is 2 to 50, was originally created in 1993. It's been worked on by you and your predecessors almost every year since then. There are about 250,000 people enrolled in it, 40,000 employers. By contrast, the exchange has a very, very limited participation, just a few hundred in the SHOP program. And the question that came out in the Senate Finance Committee, which is included in the body of the study language that you have before you, is how the study, or whether the subsidy could apply to the market outside the exchange. Unlike the individual market, where the exchange has 181,000 members, largely because they have the exclusive power to deliver subsidies, here it was contemplated in the bill that they would have the same power. But in our discussions with the exchange during the Senate deliberations, they expressed let's just say a difficulty in applying subsidies outside the exchange. That, I'm sure you would agree, is a very important issue. As I believe Senator Krebs said earlier, one of your subcommittee members said, we don't want to do anything that would damage the existing market. And that was a concern to your colleagues over on the Senate side. So I, for one, believe the study approach that was adopted is the correct one. There have been many good questions raised in this discussion. I look forward to participating in that work group as my clients will. And I think the final product that you come out with is going to be much better. So that's hopefully, and I'm glad to see my friend, former Delegate Weldon, nodding his head as well. So we're going to be working together, and we're going to come back, I hope, with a product that all of you will agree is a good one.
Thank you, Bryson. I appreciate that. Amber, is your hand up again?
Yes, I did want to mention as well, if I can just comment on something. I did hear the words writing a blank check, and I'm sure that is a concern with the amount of the subsidies and who would qualify for the subsidies. And I did want to mention that us as brokers on our side, we did with the prior program, and I believe it's a part of this proposed program, we looked at average income of the whole company. So if you had a technology government contractor, say, who all of the employees were compensated at $150,000. They would not qualify for this type program. This program really was set in for a perfect niche of a group that would have maybe the owner may be highly compensated, and then you have other income ranges. So we would take the average rate, the average income of the entire group, and that would designate how much of a subsidy the employer would receive. So these are employees who may make just over the amount that they don't qualify for a subsidy through the individual market. So I did want to mention that. We were looking at the average wage for the whole company, not an individual, and it was a set amount across the board based on that average wage. And again, you may have a single mom who makes $45,000, $50,000 per year with 2 or 3 children, and they don't qualify for a subsidy on the individual market. However, she may get some benefit from the average income of the whole company that she works with, and she may get at least a portion of her health insurance paid through that subsidy, benefiting for the average for the whole group. So I just wanted to mention that. There was a cap. It's not, not every company under 9 employees qualified for the subsidy. We did have an additional calculation that we did for the average income of the employees, including the owner, to come up with that subsidy amount.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no additional hands, I'll ask again, any questions or comments from the committee? Delegate Kelly.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor this point, but I really appreciated what Bryson had to say. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that this is going to be a work group. You're going to be at the table and we're going to figure out a program that works for the existing small group market. And it's going to benefit folks both through the exchange and not through the exchange, ideally. That's the goal, right?
That is our goal, Delegate Kelly, and thank you for stating it so well.
Great, thank you so much. Can I move the bill?
Yes, you may, especially after that artful articulation of what it does. It's been moved. Do I have a second? Do I have a second on the bill?
Second.
Delegate Kerr seconds. Any further discussion on the bill? Okay, seeing none. Those in favor of Senate Bill 632, right? Please say aye. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing no hands, the bill passes unanimously. Now we're going to go quickly to House Bill 709. I want to look at Delegate Lewis and say, Delegate Lewis, are you comfortable with conforming House Bill 709 to the Senate Bill 632?
Yes, ma'am. I'm comfortable conforming the House bill to the Senate version. Thank you.
Okay, so can I have
the amendment?
Okay, I've got a motion on the amendment. Can I have a second on the amendment? Got a second? Any discussion on the amendments? Seeing none, those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please raise your hands. Not seeing any hands. It passes, the amendments pass unanimously. Those in favor of HB 709 as amended, please raise your, please say aye. Those opposed, please raise your hands. Seeing no hands.
May come back. I'm voting for it.
Now you're voting for it. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate it. So HB 709 does pass unanimously as amended. With that concludes our work for today.
Madam Chair, Delegate Lewis.
Delegate Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. I'd like to also just make a note, put a pin in this. Everyone who asked a question in subcommittee is invited to join the work group. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Lewis. This may be the last meeting of the Insurance and Pharmaceuticals Subcommittee. There's always the possibility that we will see a bill at the last minute, so please watch your emails and the website. But if it is our last meeting, I want to thank the committee for its work. I want to thank our staff, Brigida Christofik, who has manned the technology, and our counsel, Lisa Simpson, who keeps us all informed about what these bills do. So thank you both so much for what you've done, and to the committee members for your work on these bills. And I look forward to a smooth transition to sine die. And with that, that concludes the business before us today. There is a bill hearing today in the Health and Government Operations Committee at 1:30. Thank you all very much.